Our world is being constantly remapped. New nations have been born as late as 2011. People have challenged systems of governance, redrawing the political map of some countries. Economic giants have taken a tumble, buffeted by trade winds, and we find new nations at the high table of global finance. Change has been the only constant. Given these ground realities, how has India's foreign policy addressed these challenges? In an exclusive interview to All India Radio, the External Affairs Minister Salman Khurshid outlined the contours of India's foreign policy. Minister Khurshid, what are the foreign policy challenges facing India in a rapidly changing world?
Well, it's a huge landscape, and I think what is important is that in the post-Cold War world where everyone was looking forward to a peace dividend, and instead what we have is huge amount of conflict because of dramatic paradigm shifts in government and societal management, conflict in terms of the equilibriums being disturbed, aspirations of many countries, the emergence of new forces, and of course the continuing pressure of demands of environmental protection, of international trade and financial institutions. There are a lot of standard old conflicts still alive, and there are many that have disappeared and new conflicts that have emerged. And it is important for India, which has a high profile of speaking up for the developing world and indeed of ensuring that it didn't take sides in the Cold War and became the champion along with Egypt and Yugoslavia of the non-aligned movement, that we remain at the forefront, remain relevant, and that we, in terms of enlightened self-interest, are able to shape the world institutions in a manner which is fruitful for us and indeed for many of the countries, aspiring third world countries that we have supported in many, many ways. So the challenges of changes in the global trade, in governance of the world, in the United Nations, for India to make an effective intervention and to get the best out of the paradigm shifts that are taking place, I believe is the greatest challenge.
What are India's foreign policy imperatives while dealing with our complex neighborhood?
Well, I often say that it's a lot easier to handle our neighborhood than it is to handle our own people in terms of their perceptions about the neighborhood. So, if we want to deal with Bangladesh, we need to carry people in Assam and in West Bengal with us. If we want to deal with Sri Lanka, we need to carry people in Tamil Nadu with us. If we want to deal with Pakistan, then we need to carry people in Kashmir and parts of North India and, of course, other parts of the country. If we want to deal with events and incidents that happen, for instance, relating to labor force in the Gulf region or in the Middle East, then we need to deal with a very important segment of our population on the West Coast and in Andhra Pradesh. So there are aspirations and there are ambitions. There is a perceived or an actual impact on the fortunes and the welfare of people in different parts of India that relates to how we deal with another part of the world. And I think that to find the right balance that keeps your own people in with a degree of confidence and comfort, and at the same time to be fair and equitable with the country that we are dealing with in that particular case, obviously remains a constant and evolving challenge. I think that we are able to keep a fairly even keel.
What role does India see for herself in Afghanistan after the withdrawal of international troops this year? Prime Minister Manmohan Singh was the first Indian leader in 30 years to visit the country.
Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh has a very good relationship with President Karzai, but President Karzai may not be there very long. He's finishing his term. He's indicated that now the elections will take place and there will be a successor to him. He's not indicated that he has any preference for any particular successor. His former foreign minister is one of the candidates. We are still working out to see how exactly things pan out in Afghanistan. We've simply said that we have no exit policy. We are committed as partners and as neighbors of Afghanistan to the future of Afghanistan. We want stable, sovereign, successful, prosperous Afghanistan. And therefore, we are looking at ways and means if we have difficulty in accessing Afghanistan, particularly with development assistance, we are looking at ramping up Chabahar in Iran and using that as direct access to the western part of Afghanistan, particularly the area where the mineral wealth is and evacuation of mineral wealth, and indeed import into Afghanistan equipment and assistance for infrastructure would be possible if we have Chabahar functional for that purpose. So we continue to remain committed. We are doing capacity building in a major way. We are in the last lap now to completing the building for their national parliament, also the Salma Dam, and umpteen other projects at the district level that we are committed to.
How is India engaging with China?
China is an enigma because we haven't yet solved our border problem, but at the same time, we have a very good working relationship. And we have both decided that the border problem will not stand in the way of our evolving and growing relationship that we believe is equally important to both of us and certainly very, very critical if the 21st century is to be the Asian century. India and China have to cooperate, collaborate. There are strengths that India has and there are strengths that China has. We are both competitors as well as partners, and we can in a very major way contribute to the aspirations of each other. So I do hope that the working arrangement and the instruments of peace and tranquility on the border that have been developed by our leadership on both sides will serve us towards moving forward. I think we both know that there are no quick fixes to some of the very sensitive issues which relate to the border and the line of actual control. But at the same time, I think we both value enormously importance of collaboration and cooperation and certainly of discouraging divergence. But of course, China has other friends. Pakistan is a friend of China, and there are certain aspects of that friendship that we find a little bit disconcerting, and from the point of view of strategic dimensions, something which is a matter of concern. But China knows this. Similarly, China sometimes gets concerned about Tibet, and I think we have very, very transparently, consistently taken a position that's an autonomous region of China, and it is something in which we or anybody else should not interfere.
How are India-US relations poised in the backdrop of the Khobragade case?
Well, it's like asking how a road accident, no matter how bad it is, reflects upon traffic patterns of a particular city. I think you learn from any experience that is unwholesome or unpleasant or unbecoming of two very good friends. You learn. I think both sides learn. And I hope that both of us appreciate how important our relationship is and that it cannot be allowed to be derailed by any event, no matter why it has happened. But of course, we can find, and we should find, analytical reasons to understand why something like this should have happened, why it could not have been prevented, and if it's happened, why and how it should not happen again.
Is India any closer to getting a permanent UNSC seat?
That's $1 million question. A lot of people support us, a lot of people say that they support us. In any case, we are working towards 2015, which is by when, hopefully, UN General Assembly will look at this issue afresh. Many, many encouraging developments have happened. We are also consistently continuing to work closely with our friends in Africa and Europe, in Southeast Asia. And we hope that in our lifetime, this will become a reality.
Minister Khurshid, India is a member of several multilateral economic blocs. How does this influence our foreign policy?
Well, in our times, it's sometimes very difficult to differentiate between economics and foreign policy. Sometimes economics drives foreign policy, sometimes foreign policy drives economics. But having said that, I think that there is still a lot to be done in terms of how multilateral and regional and plurilateral economic organizations and regional organizations impact on India's economy and India's trade. Some people think that it's useful, some people think it's not entirely useful, but I think it's an evolving situation until such time as global institutions are consensually accepted, although in Bali we have moved significantly forward, but till such time as we resolve the entire engineering structure of global arrangements, we will have to encourage regional arrangements. We hope that other regional arrangements, as they move forward, will also have a gravitational pull and persuasive pull on what we do in the SAARC region.
The News Services Division is launching a program, India 360, on January 26th, with inputs from the XP Division of the Ministry of External Affairs. This is a country profile with inputs from Indian ambassadors in our missions abroad, and it is aimed at generating interest among listeners in countries and cultures of the world and their ties with India.
Well, I think this was long overdue. Our public diplomacy division has been proactive in recent times. I think it's important for us to understand as people, not just as government or as a ministry, but as people, to understand our friends across the globe and our aspirations and how they pan out as we move out and plant our flag and our footprint in the rest of the world. The more we know of the world, the more we will discover ourselves. I think that's the way we should see it. So I do believe that this is a wonderful initiative that you're taking, and I'm very glad that we'll be able to partner you in this.
Thank you, Minister Koshy, for outlining the contours of India's foreign policy for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.